Welcome officially to Masquerade Breach. For those of you that can't see my name tag over on Twitch, I'm Blazewing.
I'm
I'm
Catherine
Amelia.
Cosplays.
And there's
Amelia.
Hand. And I'm Oceanus Veritas.
We are missing Jasper today, who unfortunately couldn't make it, so you will notice over on Twitch the ever so lovely in memoriam that I have posted in Jasper's spot. Literally says nothing has happened, Jasper just couldn't make it today.
Oh.
We're going to be talking about Midnight Mass episodes 3 and 4 today, finally. And you guys over on Twitch will notice over here, I have adjusted our episode list for Season 1 and added an episode. So we're going to be talking about episodes... It's supposed to be episode 3 and 4 today, not episode 3, 4, and 5, but episode 3 and 4 today. 5 and 6 are coming in our next episode, episode 9. Episode 10 is going to be our episode, episode 7 of Midnight Mass and our final thoughts. And then we're going to be going after Near Dark to finish off the season, which I can't wait for. That being said, welcome to a Masquerade Breach. Don't tell the Camarilla.
Shh.
They don't need to know what I do at night.
Don't need to know anything. Oh, if there's no witnesses of a breach, could you really call it a masquerade breach?
Correct. Don't tell the Camarilla. If there's no witnesses, it's still considered stealth. I don't know. That was something we were joking around in like episode 1. I've tried to carry it out. I don't know. I've tried to carry it through. I don't know how well I'm doing with that.
It's working, I think.
Well, until I get something a little more formal up, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find me at linktree/blazewing2010.
You'll find me at TikTok, Oceanus Veritas, as here on TikTok. Twitch, it's also on TikTok.
You can find me on Amelia.create on TikTok. You can find me also on 2 different Instagram accounts, which is Scoop13216 or Jamming.org.
You can find me on TikTok as Catherine Cosplays, cosplays spelled with a K to be fancy. My link tree is there. I am also Catherine Cosplays on Instagram.
Excellent. Now that we've got that and we've promoted the hell out of ourselves, guys, Midnight Mass episodes 3 and 4. Goob, did you have a chance to catch up and watch?
Yeah, I did. I watched it last night, and I was like, wait, I know this.
I can't wait to finish this series. The series was so damn good. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I have apparently some very analytical notes, and then we were watching episode 4, and I decided it was a good idea to break out the booze, and my notes just get progressively more incoherent. So
Yeah,
it's great.
Oh God, my note.
We open with the priest. So heads up, there are going to be spoilers for this. If you have not watched Midnight Mass episodes 3 and 4, I suggest you go watch them, and then you'll eventually be able to come back and watch this episode when it's released. And I apparently have sirens outside. Cool.
I have a question. Should we be careful what we say on TikTok?
We may have to monitor. We may have to switch words a little bit. Give me one sec. I apparently have sirens.
I don't. No, you're good. I was just confused of, should we be aware of what the limit is for TikTok?
What is the limit?
I wouldn't say fuck too many times.
Okay.
I don't get political and don't I guess don't say anything bad about someone.
Anything mentioned in this podcast is meant for educational purposes only. Yada yada yada. If we get into discussion of politics and religion, it is strictly for the sake of the episode in which we are talking about. Other than that, we don't discuss religion and politics here.
Correct.
So, let's get down to the spoilery shit, the things that I've got. We open with the priest asking for forgiveness about lying to the church.
Going to lie.
Going to lie to the church. Moving to the miracle of the kid standing. The use of sound once again astounds me. The miracle creates healing hysteria on the island. Excuse me while I read my own writing. Hats off to the actress of the island, bitch. This is just a sampling of kind of what I've got for notes. Miss Green looks sus over the healing. Dad's feeling happy and youthful for the first time ever. Dancing scene specifically.
Yep.
Pastor fills wine from his own personal flask. Sus.
Very sus.
The town bitch is exactly why you don't mix religion and politics. Senile Mom seems to be getting better. Joe Colley, drunk, is getting undrunk. Monsignor died, but he got better. And then just Orgussi, Krisha.
Okay, we need context.
Okay, might want to say what Orgussi is.
Okay, so in episode 3, the organ player was working their butt off. That music was pristine, gorgeous, loved it. So of course in the chat I put, he put his whole Orgussi into it, and that's what started it.
That being said, episode 3, what did we think? What are our thoughts? What are our feelings? What are we going to talk about for episode 3?
I loved how Father Paul, they were like literally comparing what happened to him as like the Stations of the Cross, like even to the point where they had like the carved wood images of what was happening at each step, like you see in a Catholic church. When you look around, they have the Stations of the Cross, the imagery a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. And then like you watch truly how truly psychotic this man is. Like at first you're like, oh, he's just a little priest who's just trying to do good by his community. And then you're like, oh no. And the same thing with Okay. So episode 3 is when no, wait, it wasn't episode 3, it was episode 4. So I'll say this in a bit. But just the imagery was gorgeous. I loved that they used practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I love that they used real effects, it was gorgeous, so beautifully done. It made everything it just made everything so much more crisp. I loved it. I'm good. I'm done.
Anyone else?
I mean, okay. I loved episode 4 more than episode 3 because it was just. But at the end, it got better because again, like Chris said, it was like the drawings of how it progressed to get worse, and then the priest was so. You're like, it was just this nice little priest, and then you're just like, he's psychotic. He's very psychotic, and then you're just like. But then it gets to where you get revealed more of what happened essentially to the priest that was there. And I don't want to say spoiler all of it, but I mean we could. But it's just like you finally figure out in episode 3 what happened to the priest, the other priest that was originally there, and then it's just like I kind of forgot about that, and I was just like, oh, I forgot because I think the first time I watched it, I didn't connect the dots because I was just like. But then I was like, oh, okay, I see now what happened. I see. It was so, and then episode 4 was just getting into it. Are we doing just episode 3 right now? I forgot. My brain's scrambled. Or are we just
we were gonna do episode 3 and then come back around for episode 4.
Yeah.
Okay, I just like episode 3 was just good. I think it was a good startup and it built up and then till the end where it finally explains more crap than it does. And I liked it. Again, the opening play was funny. I loved how the scene where he's in the confessional booth, and he's just like, "Forgive me, Father, for I'm about to sin." And I'm like, "What you did, little?" I was just like, "What you gonna do?" My mind went straight somewhere else. And I was like, "Oh yeah, this part." But other than that, I thought it was. I thought it was. It was to me in the beginning, and then at the end, that's when you're like, "Oh, okay."
So, I guess what happened with how I looked at it is because there was a lot that was going into both scenes, both episodes, and everything. So, in the first one, I think it was interesting because it goes into what the others have said about how, the father ends up going in, starts saying, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned," and then he's like, "Wait a minute, that's wrong. Let me replay. Forgive me, Father, for I am about to sin."
Yeah.
And the idea of why he was, and he goes throughout how when they sent, it was like at first saying when they sent the first uh, Monsignor out on his pilgrimage,
Mm-hmm.
he was far sicker than he had let on with them,
Yep.
and essentially continued to go in through this. And then eventually, it says he eventually got off the path, completely lost, ends up finding shelter. There was a sandstorm because he was lost in the desert, so he takes shelter in the desert, and eventually he finds a very, very dark entity, as it were, and it goes into further detailing what happened, as he says, and this angel, which I've never seen an angel like that before.
Can we talk about how after he came to, he was talking about how he rose from the dead and how he effectively alluded to pulling a Jesus?
Yeah, no,
And
he was making
Yeah.
comparisons constantly
and
about that.
and also the fact that he referred to the old man as a different person. He kept saying Father Pruitt, but then the second he, like, when he wakes up in the morning, he's like, I woke up in the morning. Like,
Yeah,
it's, oh my gosh. But I at first thought that, like, it was gonna be the creature who would be him at first. When the old man woke up and it was about, I was like, oh shit! Like, that was something I was not expecting. I was expecting, like, to, like, him to take the life from the old man, and then, like, his memories and, like, his personality and all that, and then, like, go, because a town isolated in the middle of nowhere.
count
Sign
me
me up.
in.
Oh
I,
my gosh.
So I want to preface this with there's a bunch of us here that belonged to the church at one point. We all have our own varying amounts of religious trauma. And one of the things that we seem to agree on, or at least most of us agree on, is that this show resonates with us like a lot. The use of imagery, the use of, songs that we grew up with, the use of the whole church atmosphere that they've incorporated into this, and the fact that it follows along and almost mirrors what that experience is like. We've pretty much talked about it and said, like, this calls to us. This is absolutely brilliantly done.
yeah.
We sit there during like watch times and we joke about shit like
Brings back a lot of, like, I guess it does slightly bring back a lot of trauma memories, and then but then you just it I don't know, it's just how I feel about it, but like it just, like, yes, it does bring back a lot of memories being associated with certain church and whatever, and and then with how should I say this?
Oh,
Ooh.
sorry. My phone just died.
Oh.
Well, bye.
No.
Can you plug it in?
I don't have a charger up here.
We can wait if you want to go grab one.
I don't want you to wait, though.
We
I'll
can...
be back.
Okay.
Ugh.
Good, continue.
So basically what happened was like through like different experiences through the church and all that. I mean, like, yes, there are traumatic memories I remember through associated with a certain church. But like, also like, how do I explain this?
With words?
Words, yeah, words. But it's like also just like again reliving a memory that you're just kind of like when you look at back at it now, you're just like this makes sense through this movie, through this series, and all that. And then you're just like, I remember that, and then you make jokes about it because it's just like it's what you do, and then you just, it kind of just, it kind of just makes my brain go, God, is that what it felt like? It's like 7 to 10 year old me or something. Like I was just like, God.
Something that once brought so much comfort and has now turned into something so full of trauma because you didn't realize what was going on at the time. And
Honestly,
something like this allows, at least for me, it brings a bit of closure and allows me to heal a fair bit.
honestly, it wasn't even comfort when I was there. I didn't something like because a lot of people, a lot of people find solstice and like certain like organizations and against the religious aspect, aspect, aspect. And to me, when I was just always like a kid, it wasn't like it just felt like it was like okay, you got through the day, you're done, and it was just like I didn't like being there. It was just like it just was to me it was boring. To me, every verse, every book we went, every chapter we went through, every hymn, everything that we went through was just it was very dull to me. And I was just like so like why is like and I was always ask my parents or whoever was there and be like why like what is this for? And they would explain it, but it'd always be with more questions or with more not total explanation answers, and I'd just be like, I just it's like I know the Bible. I know
Lag.
what
Yeah.
Goop, we can't hear you. You're roboting.
I know a lot
Oh man.
of verses.
Welcome back.
Testaments, but then it's just like uh,
Hi.
Goop keeps freezing.
no. Is it good?
I can hear you now, somewhat.
Okay. Somewhat it just glitched out on my end.
Yeah, I was going to say I can hear you now. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
Well,
You're good.
I read the Wi-Fi on that. So, where did you last hear me?
I don't quite remember. You're asking me to remember something that just happened, and I'm just like, brain, do you remember this? The brain's just going. It's just not happening. Sorry.
I get it. I was just
But
like,
I get what you were saying a little bit regarding about just the construct of it and how it was done was supposed to be this reverence, but really it's just boring.
well, I mean, it was just more like it was just more if I asked any questions, and then you're just like it comes with another question or slash incomplete answer, then you're just like it's just like and you're just like and then when I got more into like not more into it, I shouldn't say when I got more older and I started seeing things that were like that's not right, that's not right, that's not right. Reading, I was just like, I just understand why people would have this dramatic part towards it, and I just feel like it just never stuck with me.
Yeah, so when because I had been born into this and dealt with it on my own end. Um, One of the things that Midnight Mass brings back is that structure of hypocrisy that comes with it. A lot of it comes to a lot of them will tell you, oh, don't look at the fellow man, look towards, the light, the truth, and all that. And I'm like, but the fellow man decided to comprise all these books into one thing, and that ended up being the problem. Because I don't know how many denominations are. But anyways, what I'm saying is that you can see it being personified in Midnight Mass, especially
Yeah.
in the third and fourth episodes. These two episodes are pivotal to illustrate that sort of thing, which I think is an amazing situation.
Yeah.
One of the things that really got me is, while yes, there were some miracles, just when because I believe it opens up with her walking, the
Yep.
girl that's walking in the wheelchair.
Yep.
There's a there's another scene where the man ends up able that's not his back isn't hurting him anymore and he's dancing like you were saying. There was another part that was not a miracle, and that was when the woman essentially was pregnant and now is not pregnant.
Yep.
And where's my baby is the line that I keep coming back to, because
Not just that. I'm sorry, we can't. Oh wait, that comes in episode 4. Never mind. We'll talk about that in a minute.
that's yeah. So the episode 3 is when she goes, "Where is my baby?" It's like,
Yep.
I will send you to the mainland to get another review on this and see where we go from here. I can't do everything, blah blah blah. And she's like, okay. And then I don't know. I think this happened in the third one, not the fourth one. Um, I don't know. Actually, tell me, was this the third or fourth one when they're talking about what happens when we die?
What happens when we die is the fourth one, because that's when they spend all day together, I believe.
Okay, so I guess there must have been 2 days in the fourth episode then. I won't get into that then, because that's also a good point. But the fact that she loses, she ends up in that. One of the interesting things that it goes through, and one of the good things that I think it illustrates, and I don't know, is this third or fourth where girl in wheelchair confronts person who shot her?
Pretty sure that was episode 3.
Okay, so in 3, she enters into his trailer after knocking, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he's
Yeah.
aghast
Yeah.
and
He gets
put back,
like all pissed off, goes to answer the door, and then literally stumbles back and shuts the fuck up.
and he's just in dire shock that she's walking.
They also make a point. Did anybody else catch this? They also make a point of specifically showing the scar from the bullet hole that severed her spine.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
That was during the you don't question. The funny thing is we even talked about this a little bit just on our own, and that was the thought of um one of the lines was, "It feels wrong to question a miracle, doesn't it?" And
The father, yeah.
all of us were like, "No, that is when you start questioning."
That's when you should be questioning the most. Like, fuck all the way off.
We were all like, "No, you start questioning what happened here so that it can be duplicated for others, so that miracle becomes a normal thing." That was the whole point. Tests and all that. And they're like, "We just want our daughter back. We don't want to stop paying for all this." And the thing is they missed out on a thing. Had she'd gone through these tests, they would have funded it. They would have absolutely funded her. They would have set her up and that family with a payment if a miracle came by like that. And I think they missed out on it on a huge opportunity. But all they did was they didn't want it. They shut it down. They shut it completely down. And I believe during the scene where where it's oh god, I can't remember his name. The main character, main guy.
I can't remember his name either. Matt?
I'm gonna do.
Is
a
it-
quick Google.
Father Paul.
No,
Riley.
not
No.
what? Riley, yes, Riley.
Riley.
Good.
Riley, the main guy that got us to the island in the first place. Yeah, Riley is talking about it. He goes, I could technically explain everything that happened away, but the one thing I can't explain is how you knew. So how did you know?
And then
Are
Father Paul is just like, I don't fucking know. And it's just
He's like-
genuinely, he's just like, I don't know.
He did know, and he was absolutely lying to Riley, and that was the point. Remember, was that I can't give you an answer that you would be satisfied with.
Yeah.
I
And,
don't. I remember that. It was just like I just looked at it. I was just like,
but he could have been satisfied had he been transparent.
Mm.
Are you good, Goob?
connections made me shit. I don't know what's happening. I really don't.
No
Like
worries.
I'm in I have the Wi-Fi on, and this started. Now my phone's being stupid.
That's
I'm
fine.
just kind of.
The important thing is TikTok can still hear you, so we get everything. It's just we're not going to have the visual of you for now.
That's all
I'm
right.
sorry, guys.
You're good.
It's all right.
It's okay.
So
We've got
what else have we got for episode 3?
I was gonna also add to that.
go for it.
I was gonna add to that about the girl confronting the guy that shot her, and I was just gonna be like, I love actually how intricate she says that, and how she says, you know, God is supposed to forgive you,
Mhm.
or you're not supposed to judge, or I don't remember exactly her words, but God's supposed to forgive you, but I can't forgive you,
Yeah.
or something like that. She's like, and it's gonna take a long damn time to do anything, and I was just like. I like that. I was just like,
Was it,
So
I'm gonna be angry with you, and I'm gonna be angry with you for a long time. But I forgive you, Joe Colley.
yeah, because I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things you can think about in the church, and you can think about like, you know, you have your own thing with the do with the church. Like for me, as someone who was born and raised in like Catholic stuff, it was just like I didn't have a problem with. I didn't have a problem with God. I didn't have a problem with that, with people like that. But I had a problem with the people that would so called be like, I know the ways of God. I know what God wants. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't know what God. You know, you might be written in text and book, and you might follow it, but also just don't take every word like for everything. But like, it was just that's the thing I have with it, because I'll be like, yes, I still believe in God, but I believe in associations. So where we have that, to where people are like, well, the book says you can't have more than one association, but then like, but it also says it also contradicts itself. So for someone to say that I'm gonna be still mad at you, but I'm gonna forgive you because that's what God would want me to do.
Yeah.
But but then there's people like, well, you still have to forgive him, and not be mad. I'm like, that's you. God never told me to not hold a grudge.
that was the other thing, that it's interesting because there are those that are like Bev Keeling,
Oh.
and then there are people that are like like her, like I can't remember her name, but the
Lisa.
one Lisa who ends up going, I know that I am angry with you and that I hate you.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hate you. I know this to be true. But
Yeah.
if I can, and the way she says it, she articulates it in a way that says, while yes, those emotions are true and they resonate for me right now, I also have this other part of me that's willing to forgive you
Yeah.
and eventually change my perception of you. But it's going to take a lot of time. But right now, the only thing I can offer you is forgiveness, and that is all I'm going to do, even though I am absolutely angry, because she switches from hatred to anger, and you can see that switch too. That while yes, I forgive you, Joe Colley, to even though I am still very much angry with you.
That, I'm sorry, I don't know what anybody else thinks. That for me is a righteous anger.
That
She
is
has
Oh, yeah.
every right to be absolutely like just beyond pissed with this guy who potentially ruined her life. She managed to get a gift where she's back and walking again. Yeah, she's still beyond furious with him, beyond angry with him, but she forgives him.
Yeah.
It's like I have been given a second chance and I have been given this gift.
And
So
now,
that means he can too. Because, like, the one thing she said in the beginning is she was like, I hoped that your home would look like this. Because that means you are suffering.
yep,
And so she recognizes, like, this man, this man is suffering.
yep,
And also the fact that she points out, like, the only person stopping you from having a good life is you.
yep,
Yep. Yep.
Like, she's saying, like, I'm not going to stand in my own way. I'm going to live my life to the fullest. You should too. Like, how she got a second chance, he should have a second chance at trying again.
not just that, I think she gave him the permission he needed to take that on and to embrace that. And I think that her forgiving him played a very big part in that. And I think she recognized that that needed to happen. I don't honestly think she bears him any ill will at all. I'm
Yeah.
very much of the opinion that she wants the best for him, but she's still going to be upset with him.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
Obviously.
Just to
I
state
think
the
the
obvious.
I think one of the interesting things about that, because that's such a powerful scene, and we could go on for hours about that scene.
Mhm.
Um, I think what's interesting is if you look at the character dynamic of Joe Colley
Mhm.
specifically, you could and you look back, you remember from episode 1 through up until the third episode, he had a companion with him. He had a dog at first.
Mhm.
Um, and while, yeah, he was being the issue in a lot of ways, I and you notice that he stopped coming around the moment his dog was died.
Yep.
He stopped coming around because he knew that it wasn't worth him trying anymore, essentially. That was his hope, that he could get moved past this. Once his dog died, that hope was destroyed.
There's a fox in the henhouse.
Yep. And then when she gives him permission, when she forgave him, that hope reignited again.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and it is such a beautiful little points in that where there's a dip and then a rise and another dip again and then a rise. And I think that was an amazing aspect with that whole rising aspect. That now is like his future is a little less bleak, as it
Yeah.
were.
can we also talk about the fact that even through this episode, once again, they have carried the figure in his room with the flashing lights.
I'm sorry, but like I think it was either season 3 or no, I mean season episode 3 or 4. It was one of those. Because before the end of 4, there was what's his name? The people, the boy and the man. They were talking about like the boy was questioning about God and like he never
Sharif,
gave me
yeah.
he never gave me a chance to explore. We just went to being Muslim, and I'm just like, and it was just like. When they saw it and he looked out the window and saw that, I was just like, I slightly looked away for a second. I heard the music jump, and I was like, what happened? And I was like, oh, there's that fucker.
The eyes.
It's the shape of the head, and I was just like, I'm like, why is he watching them? Like, there's certain things he's doing, and he's I mean, I expect the guy was watching everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically, it went to episode 2 with the lady with pregnant, and then now it's the two from the offland and who are in a different religion, and they're just like, it's just like what specificality are you trying to like watch for? Like, how you think of ideas to give your prodigy to like inside little heads?
They didn't drink the wine.
No, they
they're
didn't.
not.
They're not
They
Christian.
don't attend service, so they haven't had the wine. So they're not under the monster's influence.
Yep.
Which is one of a very few, I believe, that aren't, because that church body is huge.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more messed up, going back to that idea, with Sheriff Sharif and his son Ali, and I think it was in the third one where they're determining about allowing the Bible into the public classroom. I think that was such a good scene. Just that love to hate Bev Keane.
Sure, it doesn't hit a little too close to home these days.
Oh, it freaking does. Absolutely, it does. And it's one of those things where you're just going, this is a public school. First off, this isn't a private school. This is a public school. And oh my word, it is such a thing. It is such a thing. To witness just the contention between when he's like, I don't like it when a book is in when a religious tome is in public church or a public school, and while at the same time Keenly is trying to express that that I think it's a good idea, and Sharif says if I proselytized or even thought of bringing the Quran in here, you'd be up in arms about it. You'd throw me out and chase me back to mainland. And the way she says it, he explains that, we think similarly but differently at the same time, and just how well the Quran and the comparison to the Quran and the Bible were there. The difference was that even in Judaism and all that, they were saying that the Christian faith, the Son is in is in both the Quran and the Bible, but that the Quran believes him to be a prophet, and that's the difference. And that whole thought, I'm just going off of based on the show, the idea that because they have a difference of religion, it should not. Where Keen is saying that it should be okay, that an edited version of the Bible should be in there actually is the biggest of is a big sin, because it states in one of those tomes that anything that is edited, removed, or whatnot, may you all have the plague. And that's just a little bit of the thing there. And Keen was saying something about along the lines of that while yes, there's some stories in the Bible that children shouldn't be made privy of, the entirety of that is definitely not on an educational level. And is not meant for an academic aspect. And I think that's what everyone else was trying to say, but Bev Keen kept continually pushing it, and that was what the problem was at the beginning. And it grew into this like tense, terse situation. And at the very end, she says, "And it hurts me that you think that I would chase you out of town because of your religion." Even though throughout the entire series she has absolutely belittled him on
Yeah.
his own on his own spiritual, his own spiritual course, which I think is astounding that she'd say something so contradictory to herself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I think? I think I want to know, and I don't know if the series ever reveals this. I don't remember honestly. If they ever, or because it's in Jerusalem, I believe that the priest, his original, he went to, I believe, Jerusalem, and he found the cave and he found the thing, and I want to know now. I'd be like, because it was like, kind of in the back of my mind, and I'm like, how long has this thing been in the cave?
Yeah, kind of questioning about that too.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, because since it's like about all the it's over like tied to religion and tied about Christianity, about God. My thing was like, was this thing there? Yeah, if while Jesus was there, and I'm just like, would that be like? Not yet. I can't do this yet, but I'll pick up that idea with that guy. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm like thinking, and that it's been there for a long ass time, and it's just kind of been waiting and waiting.
We just had a big brain idea. What is it?
What is it? Did I put it?
So this was while we know this. Jesus was a carpenter.
Yep.
He didn't like before he went into the desert for 40 days where he fasted.
Yep.
And there was a time that he basically had a conversation with the devil.
I see where you're going with this.
And when he left the desert is when he started his hardcore holy mission. So you saying, is this who Jesus talked to? I'm like, oh my God.
It makes sense.
Oh, jeez.
It makes sense.
It's interesting.
Side note, the actress who plays Bev Keen
needs a fucking award.
God,
she,
oh my God.
Yes.
She played such, and I'm even going to go into so I'm going to segue us into episode 4 now, even though we've been talking kind of about both.
Yeah.
So because I was on vacation while I was like in between planes and such, I watched up to episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And while I still had Wi-Fi, I DM'd Blaze. I said, Bev Keen just went from annoying to horrifying.
Yep. I have notes about that, actually. Would you like to hear my notes on episode 4 in all their glory?
Yes.
Go for it.
Regarding the pregnancy, oof. I can't even imagine what it's like to find out that you've miscarried. But on the other hand, we all know what this is. In fucking in capital letters, I fucking hate Bev. Fuck you, Bev. Followed by Monsignor Pruitt. Gondor calls for aid. I'm assuming he had his shirt off or something like that. This is the 2020s. Blood boiling in the sunlight is a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Followed by Orgussy, Krisha. Followed
Oh
by
god.
the bitch sold her soul. Where's the
Basically.
line between human and monster? Where does humanity lie? And my most astute observation for this entire series thus far: the devil knows how to lie, knows how to manipulate, like the best of them. Pay attention to what's being said and then what's being shown.
Yeah.
The devil fucking lies.
Yeah.
So now that we're on to episode 4, is what I'm gathering. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's on the table now. Go for it.
Yes.
Bev Keen is a monster.
Yep.
Well before
It is.
she even imbibed that blood.
Yep.
She's
And
so
I will elaborate by giving you all the evidence. We all know how she felt about Joe Colley's dog.
Yeah, judgment.
We know what she did.
We've been over this. She killed the dog.
She killed the dog. She used 1080 compound. It was bad news from the beginning. We see that same thing with Joe Colley. And I'll explain. As you know, in episode 4, while Monsignor is having trouble with what we now realize as being an addiction, and the comparisons to that blood and the addiction that Joe Colley deals with regarding alcohol, and the fact that Joe Colley catches him drinking what he assumes is the chalice for the wine, supposedly, and he just is imbibing just down. He goes, "Oh, I've been there before, but you seem a bit busy." And he goes, "No, stay, Joe Colley, stay." The fact that when he hugs him, and we all were like, "No, Joe, don't go for the hug." And when he dies, like when he hits his head and dies.
Not just that, when he's laying on the floor twitching and he can't stop twitching and all he can do is watch in apt fear.
Yeah.
As Pruitt goes in for the kill.
It's the Ivan the Terrible painting.
It is.
And the way that the Monsignor goes to him is almost like you think he's going in out of compassion. What it really is the compulsion, because he sees the blood.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is he goes down slow, and you know that that's not what you deal with in an emergency. You got to be quick type thing. And he's like, "Oh Joe," and then he lifts himself over where the pool of blood is, and he just like, "Oh, this, yep." He is absolutely a monster at this point.
Just get a fucking sippy straw.
Yeah, all you can hear is
just the slurp of the straw.
Like, he licked it off the floor.
Yep.
And then
like, you just look and it's just the stained wood boards. He licked it off the floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he also, if you noticed, I think there was a scene, just a glimpse of a scene, I think, where you see him holding Joe, and he's like, "Ah."
Yeah. That's what I meant, like the Ivan the Terrible painting at the very end.
Yeah.
And the way, now, where this gets circled back to Bev Keen is when she sees him, sees that Joe Colley is dead, and instead of, being in abject horror about it, rationalizes everything about it.
And then
Going,
okay, the dirty work.
Okay, this is okay. We don't have to worry about this. We can cover this up. That kind of thing. goes over, slaps some of the men around, and says, "Get rid of it." She doesn't even give him the satisfaction of being human after death.
Yep.
Just get rid of it. Doesn't call it by him. Nothing.
Bev Keane is a very strong critique by the producers, by the actors, by everybody involved in production of this series on the hypocrisies of the church. She represents everything that is wrong with the church, and I am here for it.
On top of that, it goes to show that even if someone is trying to redeem themselves, the church doesn't care. You're a number.
Yep.
You don't exist as a human being. You're just another drop in the ocean of souls. They don't care.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I think let's look at Bev Keane.
Okay.
She's obviously pious woman. She gave
that's the word we're using.
She gave her entire life to the church. She gave her everything to the church. Has the Bible fucking memorized. With people who are so dedicated like that comes the moment where they're like, what was this for? Like when they finally just like have the despair of, I've wasted so much time.
Yep.
And like obviously with Bev Keane, you can tell like she was born and raised in this church.
Yep.
Like that entitlement doesn't come from nowhere.
Yeah.
So she watches this priest who performed a miracle before her eyes fall to the floor, die, episode 3.
Yep.
And then he foams at the mouth like the dog did. And she killed the dog. So now she's in horror like, oh my god, I just killed this priest by accident. What did I just do? And he comes back from the dead like Jesus. So now she has a Virgin Mary and a Mary Magdalene complex where she is worshiping this man hand and foot. She loves this man. And she is going to serve him like Mother Mary served like the Virgin Mary served Jesus, like Mary Magdalene served Jesus until the very end. So I'm not shocked that she didn't even question it. Like, obviously, like, he wouldn't have done this unless it was necessary or this was an accident.
Yeah.
The critical... we're shown once again, I think, to some degree, that critical thought is the antithesis of everything the church stands for.
Yep.
If she had taken a moment and stepped back and took a look at things critically, she might have been okay. But because she didn't, because she fell into this, we know she's way too easily corrupted. We know she lusts after power.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
She's a fucking bitch. And hence my note, she sold her soul.
No, because like
power.
If you think about her entire life, the whole point of unfortunately the whole point of becoming a nun, and which I assume she's a nun or she like has led that life, because we know she doesn't have any children or she's not married or whatever.
Yeah.
But no power at all. So even just like when this sheriff came in who wasn't Christian, that was such a threat to her only power, which was having a book in a room.
Yep.
Yeah.
So finally she is grasping at power, at anything. And so like now she's like ride or die for Monsignor Pruitt, who she probably has been like hand and foot on since she was little.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think that it's just like that lust for power, that lust for control, and especially, and then like, I feel like the deeper you go into really hardcore mentality like that, the harder it is to admit, I was wrong, this was a lie. Because like, you have to go through the stages of grief about like feeling embarrassed that you did that, like all that stuff. And so it is so, especially for a character like Bev Keane, it is so much easier to just say, "Nah, I just have to wait a little. I just have to have more faith, you know? Even
Yeah.
Jesus had doubts. He asked the cup to be passed on from him. Like I just need to like it's it's that like she is such an interesting character, and it's so like even with just like the crumbs, like we
Mhm.
don't know if she was ever married, we don't know if she like if she was an only child, we don't know anything. The only
Yeah.
thing we know is her actions that we see, and it is a lust for power, it is a lust for control,
Oh yeah.
and like it is that it is that entitlement
Yep.
that
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I experienced growing up, that's why I like left. Like I was hurt by Bev Keenes. Quite
Yep.
a few I can point out.
People like her
So,
are part of the reason I left the church.
oh yeah. I
And
think
It's also like giving me like it's also for Beth. It's just gonna give me what all you said, Krisha, and then it was just also giving me like fuck everything that what I did was wrong, or like everything I thought of the church, everything, like because there had to be the part where you just like you're like, okay, this is not like, even if you worshipped and you're also like, oh my god, like this is a miracle, but you're like, but there's no way. Part of me was just like, Beth, I feel like Beth kind of in some thought she knew that this isn't like a miracle, this wasn't like the recreation of God or whatever, but she thought, I worship this church and Christianity and God for so long, and he's like, I can't just stop now. I can't just throw
mhm.
everything away. My life worth of being here and praising about Jesus and all that, and praising about the church. I can't just throw that away now.
on
And
top
it's
of
just
that,
like psychological reverse, and just be like,
well,
this is
yeah,
sweet.
on top of that, we also know Bev Keene's track record with Joe Colley is not a good one.
Yeah.
And that was the point of why uh, there's an antithesis that even while this man was trying to better himself, it was that thought that even so it he couldn't and again it showed through this weird mass. I want to put it as a blood bond, and the only thing I can allude it to is that when Joe Colley was suffering from addiction and the dangers of relapse, and Sheriff Sharif catches him and says, my night's going good so far, or my day's going good so far. How's my night going to look, Joe? And it's that guilt.
Mhm.
It's that immediate guilt that he felt like, how dare you? I've been working on myself, and yes, I am standing in front of here staring at it going, is it really worth it? One of the other things that kind of um puts it is that during about that same time they flash over to the Monsignor and his addiction to the blood,
Mhm.
and how he ends up getting a taste of his own blood, and ends up getting caught drinking. But that was also about the time that you know Joe Colley was moving away from the alcohol.
Yep.
Was about that exact same time that that Monsignor was drinking his own blood and then ended up drinking the sacrament or whatnot. And then we see it. He ends up after the whole death of Joe, and we move forward to the AA, I guess is what it was, AA, where
Yeah.
Joe Colley had made his way into in the third episode, but in the fourth, as it was coming about near the end of the night of, I think the last night of episode 4, um, Riley was asking the Monsignor, "Where's Joe?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Don't tell me he fell off," was the first thought out of his mind. And he goes, "Oh no, he's visiting his sister." But we knew in the third episode that Joe Colley's sister died just a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought that happened, and it was such a small little lie that the Monsignor, "Oh yeah, no, he's visiting his sister on the mainland. He'll be back in a couple," was an absolute turn of events. And it shows just one little white lie crumbles an entire foundation of trust.
Not just that. We also see a point where Joe Colley starts to put things together, because just before Joe Colley died, there's a moment where he looks at a newspaper clipping on the wall of a man standing in front of the church, Monsignor Pruitt standing in front of the church, and then he looks over at Pruitt and he's like, uncanny,
It's
isn't
uncanny.
it? You could be his son.
Yep.
Let's also talk. Blister Beans in the chat says visiting his sister, technically not lying. I mean, no, not if you take it to that degree, or not if you take it that way, but I mean,
Absolutely. He knew how he was wording it, and he knew what he was saying.
Yeah, he was clearly, yeah.
It was a way to deceive.
What's the protagonist's name again?
Riley,
thank you. We have a moment where Riley figures out what's going on. He starts putting two and two together. He's like, I don't know why. I don't know the reason for it. But I do know the priest lied to me tonight. To my face.
Yep.
And tried to warn his mother. And his mother looks at him with such pity. And such sorrow. She almost feels sorry for him. And then at the end of the episode, gone.
Yep.
Like, the last thing we see is him walking into the church, stumbling on Monsignor Pruitt and the vampire. The vampire filling the sacrament cup.
Yep.
Wasn't the church.
Sorry, it was the community hall.
It was a community hall, of which
sorry, go ahead.
Of which Joe Colley calls it's Bev Keene's Queen Bitch Emporium.
Yep. But we see Monsignor Pruitt and the vampire. The vampire's filling the sacrament wine. Monsignor Pruitt is on his knees, bowing to this thing. Riley walks in. The vampire launches at him. Monsignor Pruitt watches for a minute and then goes over and just shuts the door, and that's the episode end.
It was just like, I was gonna say, talk about the ending. It was just like, when he came in and he was just like in this hat and like trench coat, and I was just like, he's slightly looking more humanish, because I mean, maybe if I don't know. When we saw him originally in episode 3, it just looked, like a natural vampire. And now it kind of is like, it's kind of looking more humanish, and then it's more about how he gets on his knees and he's like worshiping this what he thinks, and he's like, this is a god, and I'm like, is this supposed to be symbolism or something? Because I can see it, but I can't think of it right now.
So,
there's another thing that I want to put out there. That's not the first time we see that figure.
No, yeah. We've seen like 4
if you remember, right before the cat's in the storm, what does Riley do in this? I believe it's the second episode, isn't it?
He goes running out, chasing this figure,
thinking it's Monsignor Pruitt. Now we know it's not Monsignor Pruitt. We know it's this angel.
It's weird, but it's so intriguing how it comes onto this cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
It's Riley, and it's just like, and then he just I feel like the priest was just looking at him for a moment, like contemplating what should I do, but at the very end he's just like, but I can't disobey this angel. I can't stop this, because he knows damn well if he stops it, and it was just like, he just closed his door and lets it happen.
There's
And he's gonna pray in the confessional booth again. Forgive me, Father, for I've already sinned.
there is a trope in certain vampire lore. I'm looking specifically at Vampire Diaries.
Mhm.
You imbibe the blood of the vampire. You ingest enough of the blood of the vampire. And then once you die, you have a certain amount of time to either ingest human blood or you die.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is very much a play on this. And I would like to point out, Krisha, that there is a certain plot line that we have been toying with in the writing room. This series is directly responsible for.
Oh yeah, I saw that from a mile away.
Okay. Just so we're clear on that.
Yep.
I
You know,
think
the good is corruptible. Evil is not as easily corrupted. Evil can stand some of the most barbaric things. But the good, the holy, that is all too easily corrupted. And it can get really bad, really fast, and snowball. And by the time you realize it, it's too fucking late.
Yep.
yeah, no, it's an interesting take on an old adage that it's very easy to fall off that which is good, but when you fall further and further into evil, it is that much harder to climb out of.
Yep, sure is. Do we have anything else we want to touch on?
Yeah, there is one more other thing I would like to be able to touch on, and that has to do with this being in the 4th episode, where the girl, Riley's girl, I'm gonna call her Riley's girl because I forgot her name, goes to the mainland and says, hey, they say that I may have miscarried. I'm just letting you know that I don't know what happened. Maybe you can give me more answers. And the doctor that comes in says, I have your blood work, but it does not indicate you were ever pregnant. And the thought there is not only did it gaslight this poor woman, but then they made it worse by saying, we were curious if you would be willing to speak with our psychologist, our therapist. Like she was utterly insane.
Yep.
And it was like, what? It was one of those things. And then, of course, it goes into, the whole village of that island knows that she was pregnant, believed and understands that she was pregnant, and that she lost the baby. But mainland says that she was never pregnant. And what an outside look or an outside perspective is like, what are you talking about? It's the same concept. There's no such thing. But furthermore, into that goes into segueing about her question she poses to Riley. And that question was, what happens when you die? And the absolute beautiful telling of both their stories and both how they view what happens after death. I think that is a beautiful quintessential point and pivotal point of Midnight Mass, as you have said, as what others have said. This was the point of the series.
There's also one more thing I'd like to get into, specifically from a production standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the use of music, not just the use of practical effects, but the camera work. As somebody who has done a bit of camera work, as somebody who is trained to do camera work and editing, we get into the more monstrous scenes. We're seeing a duality here. We get into the more monstrous scenes, and it builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up, and then we switch.
Yeah.
Like that. It's an instant cutoff at the height, and we move into something a little more mellow and wholesome. And then once we're done with the mellow and wholesome scenes, we get into the little more monstrous scenes, and we build up, and we build up, and we build up, and we build up, and we build. Oh, we're switching again. Like just that immediate shock. They're using shock factor here to change the scenes, and I am so much a fan of that.
Yeah. I think one of the best points is for however dark it gets becomes the almost mirror effect of how light it is.
Light and dark.
And,
We're seeing a balancing effect here.
yeah, and
Yeah.
one of the things that it reminds me of is there was a saying says as above so below.
Good.
Ah,
What are you saying?
thank. Is it glitching on me again?
No, what were you gonna say?
No, I was agreeing to 100%. And then once Ocean, you said that as above, so below. I was like, oh my god, finally someone said it. Someone said it was as above, so below, because it reflects again the light and dark of this entire series and how a light and dark and evil and good coincide, and it gives that yin yang, and it's just like nothing can. Well, it's just giving me nothing can truly ever be good, but nothing evil can never. It can truly be evil, or nothing. It's if I said that if wrong, I apologize. I know it's nothing could. Nothing ever could be truly good, and then it's like nothing evil could truly ever be bad, and it's just like it gives that kind of. Riley, he killed someone. He killed someone because he was drunk. And you know that's bad, but it wasn't. He was never truly evil. He was never truly bad.
It was just a poor decision in the moment. That
Yep, and then
painted him as that, and most people are going to see him as that.
Yeah.
And the priest, while he's riding high, being this symbol of God and being giving people help, progressing into something evil, and he was never truly good.
This island has very quickly. Sorry, Krisha, did you have anything you want to say before I move on?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. This island we're seeing has become a battleground for the very souls of its inhabitants. It is a battleground between good and evil, between light and dark. It is a playground now where the normal rules no longer apply, where the things that you thought were safe aren't. The things that you thought were going to hurt you might not necessarily do so. And we're seeing just who is corrupted. Even Riley. Like, Riley's doomed at this point because he's already drank from the goblet at this point. But he's stopping and he's starting to think. Those gears are starting to turn. He's starting to look at things. He's starting to realize just a little bit. He's starting to wake up and see things, right?
I'll be right back.
But Bev, all too easily corrupted. Riley's mother, all too easily corrupted. The priest, all too easily corrupted. This is now a battleground, first and foremost. And the carnage that's going to be left is going to be absolutely insane.
Riley's mom is so interesting because it's like a bystander.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like she was like Riley was like, this is bad, like all this stuff, and she just goes, well, she can walk and I don't need my glasses and your father is finally like we're all happy. Is that truly a bad thing?
You know what that screams to me? Silence is complicity.
Yep.
Yep.
You stay silent on an issue when you see wrong, even if you know it's wrong and you choose to stay silent, you are just as guilty as those perpetrating the act.
Are we gonna go to? Are we ready?
I'm good.
Did you you said you changed the rating scale, right?
So, I'm looking at changing the rating scale. I want to say we're going to keep just with the blood drops. just a quick sum up, 1 or 2 sentences, nothing more. Would you recommend it to other people? How did,
Yes.
how did it keep with lore?
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Cool.
1 through 5, right?
1 through 5. So, we'll start with Goob. What would you rate this on a scale of 1 to 5 blood drops?
Real quick, remind me of the blood drops again. The gore, or?
So the blood drops are going to be, we only have one item now. We're going to be looking at, would you recommend it to somebody else? And do you think it keeps in with lore? Do you think it tells a good story?
And then
That's
the blood drops
That's
are...
it. I'm changing things up a little bit at the end here.
Okay. Through was it I would recommend it to people. Hell yeah, 5. I would give it a 5.
Okay.
I would absolutely give it a 5 for its. Yes, it is it's kind of like a slow burn. It's kind of like it gives that build up, but it at the end, and then like you're starting to unravel mysteries. It gives that eagerness and your fulfillment of wanting to know more and more and more to the very end, and then kind of you want to know more what happened eventually, and you're just like, the lore.
How well
Are we
do you
waiting
how well do you think it keeps to lore?
from the original, like from the first episode, or just
from like vampire lore in general?
Oh, okay. Honestly, I give it also either it would be either a 4 or 5 because I think it does because it gives the classic lore. It gives the classic you can't touch sunlight. You can't. You have like it's the first bite. You're eager to like you're just thirsty all the time, wanting something, but you can never satisfy your taste until you kill someone, and then it gives the. There's so many other ones I just can't remember because it's just the youth that did that. So I think it's I give it a 4 or 5. I give it top tier.
Krisha, on a scale of 1 to 5.
5 out of 5. Keeps to lore. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Literally love this series, and I'm hooked. Short, sweet, to the point.
Box of Pepsi that is substituting for Ocean. What would you rate it? While we're waiting for Ocean to get back, I would definitely say that this gets a solid 4.5 for me, as far as keeping to lore. And would I recommend it? Absolutely, hands down. This is a series that I've fallen completely in love with for reasons that I've already stated, and so many more reasons that are yet to come. We have 3 episodes left for this series. It is a very short series, but oh my god, it's done so fucking well.
Yes.
Just, it draws you in, very much so. And now we wait. Yes, any last minute additions you guys want to add while we're waiting? Good talk.
It was good talk. I really love this series. I'm sorry, but I think it's I kind of snicker or I kind of laugh a little bit with every time he gets into the damn confessional booth because I remember that so much, and I just be like, and now like once I'm thinking about it, I'm like, if I went ever back to just a confessional booth just to do that real quick and then be like, I don't know what to say. I don't know. Am I supposed to sit there and be like, so want me to tell you about what I
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Tell me your sins, child. How long you fucking got? Like, you got a couple of days? We could be here for a while. I might want to put on a pot of coffee. These things come with like
you
coffee
cut out what?
How long you got? These you might want to put on a pot of coffee. We could be here for a couple of days. These things come with a built-in coffee maker, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
My confessional booth at my church, it wasn't even a fucking booth. It was a room with 2 chairs. Like, there wasn't even a screen.
Oh, that's great.
Like, oh, you looked that priest, and then because I went to a Catholic school,
Same.
the week of Easter, the entire school would do confession. So they had all 4 priests in different chairs in different corners of the church. So you had to whisper your sins because they didn't have the space. And one time I just started crying and I just told him, like, things are really rough right now. Can I just, like, vent? And he just said, of course, go ahead. And I cried. I was like, I was not doing well. And he was like, I'm going to keep your family in my prayers. And I was like, you better. You
Yep.
better, Father Tom. Oh my gosh.
Ocean, come back. Come back.
Ugh.
Alright,
Alright,
so,
I'm back. Sorry about that.
no worries. So, 1 to 5. So, the way I'm going to do this now is 1 to 5 rating of blood drops. Does
For
it fit with
campiness?
Does it fit with lore? And would you
Oh,
recommend
okay.
would you recommend it to somebody else? Basically, does it tell a good story?
Short, sweet, to the point.
Okay, so yes, for the does it fit lore? Absolutely. For a ghoul, not for a vampire though.
In regards to who?
In regards to the story regarding the blood bonding and aspect, while yes, that is very vampiric, no, I don't think, unless you were thinking along the lines, it is very. I haven't seen anything regarding any of the other tropes used in other vampirism, such as, the idea of holy symbols being a problem with this thing. I haven't dealt with, we haven't seen anything like staking of the heart, nothing like that, nothing. All we're seeing is the blood drinking and non-sun things. But the attributes to the people being imbibing the blood and taking on to being healed, cured, and all these things, absolutely, it is a thing that happens. Being out in the blood, the blood being boiling, was also something that was mentioned. So yes, that was absolutely. I'd give it a 5 or a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
For lore base.
Would you recommend
Would
it? Would you recommend it to anyone else?
Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Yes. And have 5 out of 5.
Okay.
It is worth the watch.
Excellent. On that note, I think we're pretty much done here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I have to highlight and archive this so we have it for our Masquerade Breach roll. Thank you so much to all of my co-hosts for today's discussion. I cannot wait for episodes 5 and 6. For this episode of Masquerade Breach, I'm Blazewing.
Captain Cosplays.
I'm Oceanus Veritas.
I'm Amelia Creed.
And we'll see you guys next episode. Whenever the fuck we get around to recording that.
Yes.
Bye.
Hasta luego. And remember, Maria.